So a very warm good morning or good afternoon to Suzanne and Austin. Thank you so much for joining in today. My name is Kuldeep. I'm the senior strategist at Enalito Automation, and we are an AI company working in the field of machine learning and artificial intelligence to understand consumer behavior, product behavior in finer details in order to solve those interesting problems and come up with solutions. Having said that, I'm really delighted to have Suzanne and Austin with us on today's panel discussion at the Enalito's Mobile Commerce Conference 2022. And they are doing some amazing work in their own fields. And I'm really happy that they took out time to join in today. Without further ado, let me make a very brief introduction and then we'll start with the Q&A session. Let me begin with Suzanne. Suzanne McKenzie is the founder and CEO at AbleMade. And Suzanne is an award-winning entrepreneur, chief creative officer and designer, passionate about using design and collaboration to make the world a better place. And her brand AbleMade is an active lifestyle brand that inspires healthy living and combines bold design with responsible manufacturing and giving back to the society. While leading AbleMade, Suzanne has designed eco-friendly and domestically produced products and secured design collaborations that have helped raise awareness, loyalty, and funds for Pencils of Promise, VH1's Save the Music Foundation, CFDA Fashion Target, Breast Cancer, Guggenheim Museum, the Met, the High Line, and her 13-year-old nonprofit UCAL Mackenzie Breakaway Foundation. And Suzanne has 23 years of experience that include work in advertising and design consultancy world for numerous national and global brands. Suzanne, glad to have you. It's an honor to have you with us. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have on the panel with us is Austin Dixon. Austin is the CMO at a fast-growing D2C healthcare brand, Adegen, and he has been in the field of marketing for over 6 years, working with various social media celebrities and online brands to grow and take their business to the next level through various channels. And he's going to share a ton of information about how he's working at Adegen and how he's scaling up the brand. And his brand, Adegen, his goal is to offer the most effective hair loss solution available, but be completely transparent about the product strategy and everything. So Austin, welcome to the panel. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure. Excited to be here.
Great. So my first question to you guys, let me begin with Suzanne, is around purpose. Okay. So everything that we do in life has to have a purpose. So what is your purpose? And you have been in this industry for such a long time. What motivates you? What encourages you to keep moving, keep doing, and keep growing?
So I think design, that's my industry. I've been in the game for a little bit now. And I've really realized how powerful design and visual communications can be. It can be life-saving even. So I really have always been, driven to this idea that that's the case, and it can be used as a tool for purpose-driven communications and just moving organizations forward. So, after I lost my husband to sudden cardiac arrest when he was playing a soccer game in Boston, I used that kind of mindset about my field to push not only myself forward, but to create a nonprofit in his honor to help empower city youth. And by design, we created these experiences for kids 8 to 18. And, we're 13 years old as a 501c3 nonprofit now. And through my business, AbleMade, was actually born to fund this foundation. So I didn't just want to give proceeds of apparel back to a nonprofit without addressing the design of the company, purpose-driven design all the way through, from, the manufacturing decisions we made for responsible manufacturing, from every single fabric, thread, every detail of our apparel and accessories are talked to death to nauseum, for my design team, because we want it to be the best quality driven piece, but also sustainably driven. So for me, to answer your question, the purpose driven part is really important. I think the design as the tool to deliver that is really powerful. And we're doing it through sport, through sustainability, and through fashion. And that's, legacy driven through in honor of my late husband, but also to showcase what design can do.
Wow, that's very powerful, I must say. And I think when something is that like attached to the core, and I think when it's very, very personal, and then you can really change the world. I think that's very, I think all the big brands that we see all around us have this unique ability to kind of understand where the world is and then contribute to that world in a very meaningful and purposeful way. And that's when we get attracted to their products. And it's not just, and the design thinking and the product, how they are made, plays a huge role in decision making, whether we are going to purchase it or not. I think a lot of today's, like every consumer in today's world is becoming more and more socially responsible, and they know what they're buying. They want to know what's gone behind the product that they are consuming or buying. I think so. What Suzanne has mentioned is very powerful. Thank you so much, Suzanne. And I think, as you mentioned, design, how important that element is in building great products. And of course, when you have the best design thinking involved, your products can become really, really sustainable, because you put everything, you put your heart and soul in creating great products. Excellent. Let me go to Austin also. And Austin, if you can share briefly your products, like your philosophy about your brands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this question. It's really been something that I've been trying to tune in heavily into over the last year. So about 6 years ago, I fell into the internet marketing space. I was working a job out of college that I just wasn't really enjoying. And so I decided to, and looking back on it, it was because I didn't have purpose in it. I was just kind of showing up, going through the motions, collecting a paycheck, and kind of living for the weekends. And so looking back on it, it was a very scary decision, but I decided to just kind of bet on myself. I quit my job, started to learn about how to market and sell things online. Mm-hmm. I'm very, very blessed that I took that bet on myself, because it's paid off immensely, first and foremost from a professional standpoint, but also just from a personal standpoint. The downside of it is that the internet marketing space, kind of the corner of the internet marketing space that I fell into, is all of the, flashy Lambos, we make a ton of money and we want to show everything off side of things. And it's a really, like looking back on it, once again, the skill sets I developed from it are great, but the personal connection and the empathy what was lacking for a few years. And so when I partnered up with my current business partner, John Goss, he was looking for someone to come in and run the marketing for our current brand, Adegen. And it's been so fulfilling from a purpose standpoint, because I realized that I can attach my skill set and what I love doing, which is creating marketing campaigns, to not just sell products that work well and provide a transformation, but deep down, right now we're in the hair loss space. We're not just selling a solution to regrow your hair. What we're selling a solution to is to find self-love and find confidence in yourself. And the amount of transformation and empowerment that our customers get when they're able to do something like regrow their hair has been amazing. And so the purpose really deep down is, we don't know if we're helping the next Elon Musk or Sarah Blakely or next great star regain that self-love and confidence to be able to, accurately and confidently attach themselves to their purpose and push themselves and their life further. And I think that's what really keeps me going, is knowing that, we're not just solving this surface level, I want to look good problem. It's something much, much deeper than that.
Wow, that's very interesting. And you attached your core skill set to a brand, and I think how you're thinking and moving in that direction. Wow, that's amazing. I think in today's world, if you have a best product and if you do the best marketing, well, that's a very amazing combination. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's what the consumers love. I think every product out there uh, has to have that solid ability to kind of influence the consumer's mind, and why consumers will love a product only when the product is great and only when the marketing is super great. So I think it's go hand in hand. So
Mm-hmm.
amazing, Austin. Let me go to Suzanne again. And Suzanne, you have been uh, in this field for a very long time, and you have worked with several different brands. So what is that one thing that, let's say, how do you acquire those early adopters for your brand? This is a very basic question I'm asking, but I know the significance of it, because from 0 to 100, it's the most difficult time. It's the most an important time, but those who stay during that period, then from 100, it's like game on. You can't stop. So what is that? What are some of the things that you would like to share when you were working with brands that help them in scaling up to, let's say, from 0 to 100?
Yeah, and in terms of like early adoption, I mean, looking at that through a lens of like consumers, we weren't one of the brands that do the sexy thing and raise like 2 to 5 million out of the gate just to start. We didn't do that at all. I had 75K of outside angel money, and then I sold my car, sold my condo. When you say you have skin in the game, I got body in the game, whole body. So I think some of those lessons on a more grinding level were really important. And now that we are raising a round of capital for the first time, it's been great to show how we've de-risked, how we've built, our early adapter consumers. And that's just been about, when we didn't have an ad budget to spend on digital marketing, we would do pop-ups, or we would do these collaborations where we could introduce ourselves through, our partner, like a Puma or a Project Runway winner or Swell Bottle. Like, we were able to introduce ourselves through, their customer base. So it's been really interesting. And I think you have to be more creative when you don't have the financial resources behind you. But, Austin talked about, taking that leap. And I think that also can apply to asking for things, introducing yourself to people you might not know, cold calling, which I do a lot of, even emailing or LinkedIn messages. Like, that's something I was doing from day one. But I am very lucky and grateful to have the network that I do because of the professional start that I got. So all those things combined, in terms of early adapter, consumer base, it's just been us introducing ourselves to these lower expense, places that we could get an entry point for consumers.
So being creative with your ad spend and utilizing organic approaches towards marketing. Yeah, I think that's a great thing to do in the beginning, of course, and then figuring out how to reach out to the right people and getting them on board. Amazing. Susan, if I may ask, like for Able Made, if you could talk a little bit about Able Made and what the products are all about, and uh, like the design philosophy that you have adopted for your products.
Yeah, it's evolved. We started in 2013. We launched the brand in December of 2013, and it was really like a bunch of really like limited edition drop collaborations. So like a scarf with Project Runway winner Anya, who won season 9, I believe, or Swell Bottle, where we did some original artwork on a Swell Bottle. We've done a 5 t-shirt collaboration with Puma. So all of these have been like limited edition drops, in collaboration with another brand or designer. So that's really how we launched the brand. But since then, we've really been able to understand our customer, and we've come back to our heritage story of why we've started. So although it's been incredible to be able to fund all these nonprofits through these collaborative, soft drops, it's been great also to come back to why we started the brand, and that was really to fund my late husband's foundation and empower city youth in underserved communities, families from single parent or guardian households, lower income families. And I'm really happy that we're doing that. We're telling the story through both our athleisure product, which is now apparel that we just started in April, but as well as, some of our well-performing accessory categories like hosiery, socks, bags, and things that are just becoming a little bit more sport and soccer inspired. Like I have a t-shirt on that has our soccer heart.
Wow.
Now everything has like a little patch on it. You can see.
Yeah.
Everything's recycled quality too, which is exciting. But everything really, like conceptually, color story wise, product, silhouette wise, everything is leaning back into this soccer heritage. The colors are inspired by my late husband, who has a Jamaican heritage. He was a first generation immigrant from Jamaica, came over to the States when he was 16 and really assimilated into his new country through the sport.
Wow.
So, he became a guidance counselor here, was their boys varsity coach, and, really made a huge impact in the time that we had him through the sport and through mentorship. So we're celebrating all of that through actual product. And I think that's what people are responding to as well. Like you could feel like kind of the passion that went into, creating the collection and the backstory and the heritage of the brand. I think we're trying to really like anchor every product we do in that story.
Wow, that's very meaningful. I think, as you mentioned, how the product design and everything, I think fabric and everything that goes into, and when you have such a very meaningful things at the core, I think people love that. I think people resonate with that. That's more than that. I think people just fell in love with those kind of products. So amazing. I think this is a great lesson that you shared, Suzanne. I think that how even if someone is launching a direct to consumer apparel brand, what they should focus on, how attention to detail matters, and doesn't matter how many people are buying, but those who are buying, when they buy, are they getting that experience, and then are they becoming the ambassadors for your product, and they talk about it. People see wearing that, like people see that product and ask, hey, where did you got it? And if your product start getting that kind of attention, sky's the limit. So I really like that approach, organic approach, all the time, especially in the world that we are living in, where consumers' attention spans are becoming smaller and smaller. So I think these very strong focus on product design, and then focusing on the product quality and the experiences can make a huge difference in like having that customer for your lifetime. So nothing can beat that. So this is a great lesson that Suzanne just shared. Let me go to Austin also and ask, Austin, for your brand, what are some of the marketing strategies that you have deployed? Let's say, definitely you have acquired your early customers and you got that traction, but in order to scale up, let's say, from your business to let's say X to let's say 2X, what are some of the marketing strategies that you have put in place to take your brand to the next level?
Absolutely. So I made my transition from the kind of like info product, digital product space into the e-commerce space when I came on board with Adegen about 2 years ago. And one of the major lessons that I learned in working with a lot of like coaches and consultants selling, info products and whatnot, was the fact that education is so important. And so one of the cool things that happened when I came on board was I kind of got with my partner and I asked him like, what has worked so far? He was a solo business owner. He had done about $250,000 in revenue just by himself. And so I wanted to come in and do an audit of, okay, how did you do that? And the funny part was that the majority of that revenue, if not all of it, was driven from a single podcast episode that John was featured on. He was featured on, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mind Valley, but they're a, big brand in the personal development space. And it was crazy to me, not surprising, but a little crazy that you could do $250,000 in revenue from one podcast episode. But so basically what I did is I sat down, I listened to the podcast episode, and what I realized is it was basically just an educational storytelling based podcast episode where my partner shared why he created the products, shared how he created the products, talked about what the actual root cause of hair loss is and what the solution is. And when I started to piece together, I realized that most e-commerce brands don't do that. You know, we all see product brands on Facebook just running an ad directly to a product page, trying to convince us that their product is better because of X, Y, or Z. But the big thing is that consumers are very smart these days. They are the decision process is a little bit longer. They want to feel like they're making an educated, informed decision before they buy a product, so that they understand not only they're buying the best solution, but they're also buying from the best company, someone that's going to be, you know, in their corner, someone that's rooting for them, someone that genuinely wants them to succeed. And our belief at Adegen is that the best way to do that is through education, making sure that, once again, consumers are fully informed before they make that purchase decision.
Wow, that's very powerful. You picked up the very important thing, like how storytelling and connecting with your consumers and kind of letting them learn about your product from why it started. I think that why resonates, and you can get tremendous traction. Wow, I was looking at your website and I discovered about the Mind Valley podcast, and I'm gonna listen to that as well, because I think these are some of the most important things that I think brand typically miss out on in the whole. I mean, because in terms of marketing, you have so many channels to cover, you have so many grounds to cover. You have to do email marketing, paid advertising, you have to have your product page correct, you have to have your product videos correct. So within that, I think this is can be a very important puzzle or missing puzzle that many brands kind of miss out on. So
and what's been cool, just kind of piggybacking off that, is once I knew that the podcast was working, like in regards to scaling up our marketing, I just started running paid ads to that podcast episode. So we don't have any fancy funnels. The podcast isn't even on our website, it's on Mind Valley's page. But because it's not, we're not selling people, we don't focus on selling people up front, we focus on educating them. And because of that dynamic switch, it's worked out wonderfully for us.
Very cool, excellent. I think that's a very big idea that you shared. Thank you. I think every brand should try these things. I think quite often it can have a very meaningful impact in getting that organic outreach and helping you kind of reduce the customer acquisition cost to a great extent. So excellent advice there. Thank you. Suzanne, as someone who has been like working in the design field, marketing, building a brand, now you have your own brand, you are trying to raise capital, you are wearing so many hats, right? And within all of that, what do you think, what does it take for a brand to become really big? Definitely your product is at the core, and then you have several function, marketing, then you have your people, your logistics. So there are several nuts and bolts. So what are some of the things that you are doing currently in order to kind of take your brand to the next level? Now that you're going to raise capital, what are your plans? If you can share, because you have already got that traction, you already have that validation for your product, you already have that very strong connection with the consumers. What are some of the things that you're going to do in the next couple of years in order to take your brand from X to 2X?
I think you're seeing a huge consumer shift to values-driven brands, right? So every single category is being affected. People are going from like General Motors to Tesla. People are going, maybe from Stop and Shop to Whole Foods 365. Estee Lauder to Goop. Like it's just, much more values driven.
Yeah.
But I also think on top of that, that people are looking for authentic brands, right? So
True.
um, you have to walk the talk.
Hmm.
And people have the internet now, people have social media now. Consumers can dig and really find out if you're faking the funk pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I think, everything that we've built and built not as quickly as some of the startups that are my contemporaries, but like I think we took a lot of time to validate and de-risk and to find out what happens, when we're in this environment selling versus selling to this group. So I think for us, that was really important to validate and to get that credibility for ourselves first and really test, making sure our product is where the quality wants to be, and also really telling the story of why we started the brand in the first place has been really important. So I think, to build on what Austin just said, that storytelling and not being so transactional with your customer, I
Yeah.
think is really important to build the trust so that they'll eventually purchase from you. I think, he's right. Like you have to like build a relationship with people now. And you can do that in various ways through marketing tactics, but like, you have to be keeping it real. And that's, I think, the number one thing, no matter what kind of marketing execution you do. And for us, we're really excited to be onboarding an amazing creative team. I mean, that's where I cut my teeth. So I'm excited to like actually do some creative and branding around like getting us out there a bit more and partnering with some amazing people to do that. So this
Hmm.
is sort of like starting the fun part for me after all this hard
Cool.
work. So I'm super excited. And just, thinking of creative ways on how to tell our story.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, I think very, very interesting advice that Susan just shared. Like, yeah, stay the course, know what your brand stands for. Yeah, and as they say, building a brand is like a marathon. You have to run those daily sprints, and you have to just keep running. You never settle. So very cool. Uh, Susan, I also would like to ask you, in terms of marketing for your brand, what are some of the uh, things that you are currently doing, like email marketing, or are you doing paid marketing, like in order to kind of acquire those new customers? Those who already are there, definitely there. The only thing that is left is retention. That happens when your product is so strong. But what are some of the things that you're doing currently in order to acquire new customers?
Right now, like we've had a lot of pop-up opportunities. So we just finished one with the luxury sustainable hotel called One Hotels. We've done 2 residencies with them. The last one was in Central Park, and that was huge for us. Like it was the same month we launched apparel.
Mhm.
We did so well there. So I think like, and we were in Soho, New York City, 6 months as well. So those opportunities to get in front of people now that the world is opening up again has been really valuable for us.
Yeah.
And we're actually kicking off the creative team this week for our marketing and what that's going to look like. I'm really, really interested in pushing the envelope on delivery of tactics. I
Yeah.
think there's sort of this unwritten, like, this is what you do. Like, you do a digital marketing campaign and you do this and that. You see two influencers, and like, I kind of like am fatigued by that a
Hmm.
bit, honestly. Like I'm fatigued by that formula.
Mhm.
I think Mark Zuckerberg has enough money. So I'm actually tasking my creative team to, and my media placement team, like I want to really push what we can do that's different. Or if it's in the same kind of arena, placement wise, what can we do that's different, that's going to break through? Because I like to do creative things that are unexpected, and I just think there's so much opportunity for that. So
True.
TBD, but I'm hoping you'll be seeing some good stuff from us soon.
Wow, looking forward to that creative stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. And you said it rightly, how you can use that space, but still do something very different and make that huge space in the consumer's mind. Yeah. Amazing. I like that. Let me go to Austin also and get his thoughts on Austin. as someone who has spent like almost enough time in marketing, uh, what is something that you want to try or you want to experiment with? Because you being a marketing guy, traditionally everything in marketing is all about organic marketing or inorganic marketing. So organic marketing takes time, and organic marketing is all about spending dollars, and you can have a ton of traction. But anything that you would like to try, that you have been thinking but haven't, like that you want to try this but you haven't tried, that you are going to like launch this year, next year, anything on your
Yeah,
mind?
that's a great question. It's been funny because about the last month or so, I've had a few friends who are interested in what I do, and they've kind of been asking me like, hey, can you run me through what's your day-to-day look like and whatnot. And so I've really been trying to, and my family still doesn't know what I do half the time. So they just think I press a few buttons and sell things online. And so I've really been trying to think about what is it that I do as a, quote unquote CMO, a marketer. And
Correct.
really it's just this, it's identifying opportunities. I think Gary Vee always says like under leveraged attention,
Correct.
testing it and seeing if it works for your brand. And so it's been cool because my business partner, John, he puts so much trust in me to put out little tests, see what's working, see how different platforms are performing.
Correct.
Obviously the last few months, TikTok has been one of my big focuses, taking what I've known to work on other platforms, translating it and learning this new platform that's absolutely explosive.
Yeah.
And kind of marrying the two worlds of direct marketing and this new social media platform. So over on there, I've been testing out like little, they're almost short, like video sales letters, a lot more direct response copy, leading people to that podcast episode, sharing customer transformations. One thing we're trying to figure out is what level of kind of like personal brand versus not having a face of the brand do we want to do.
Yeah.
Thinking long term, if we want to sell down the road, it doesn't make as much sense to have a face behind the brand, but it's just a balance thing. So that's kind of how I look at my role. Is I'm always in the trenches, testing different things, seeing what's working. Unfortunately, the last about year we've been working on our fulfillment. We've been blessed to have sold out 3 separate times. So we're inches away from being set up with a fulfillment company that's taking over all of our operations on that end. And once they're able to do that, we're going to be able to scale up the marketing a little bit more effectively. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you're running any sort of marketing team, the key is to always be in the trenches, open your ears and open your eyes to what's going on, and be a little bit slighted and take everything with a grain of salt of this is what's working now. Because oftentimes the best things that work are the things that no one's paying attention to.
Well said. Well said. Absolutely. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, those unleveraged opportunities that often get missed, and that's very true. I think, yeah, Gary Vee is a genius, and I think he always shares something very interesting. Cool. And also this question. So marketing is all data driven, right? So how do you, as a marketing, like, how do you understand your consumer behavior, people who have bought from you? You earlier mentioned that you don't have any kind of funnel for your consumers, but like the data points that you have acquired, do you get to know like who are the customers who are like your VIP, who are the set of customers who are like your fresh customers, or like what is their like browsing recency or purchase recency, or who are the set of customers that your brand can lose? Maybe retention, of course, is the biggest talking point these days, because I think acquiring a new customer is extremely difficult. So losing an existing one would be terrible. So how do you do all of that data-driven marketing? Do you do that, or how do you?
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a great question. It's funny because growing up, I always enjoyed math a lot. And then when I got to college, my first ever C in school was in my first math class in college. And then I realized like, I'm not good with numbers. I don't like them. And it wasn't until years later when I got into marketing, I was like, wait a second. And just business in general, understanding the data behind a business is very important because it removes the emotion of making rash decisions, and numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
So I've really learned to lean into the data with the caveat that not all data can be captured by a number. And so it's this balance of reading the numbers behind the business, right? We send out an email, how many opens, how many clicks does it get? How much revenue is it driving? What's the ROAS on our Facebook ads, et cetera? That's all data that I try to look at every day. But then the data that isn't always in front of your face oftentimes is more important. An example of this is we run what I believe, it may not be the biggest, but it's by far the most engaged Facebook group around hair loss. We have almost 9,000 members in there. The engagement is crazy. Everyone's answering each other's questions, talking about how they use the products and what their routines are. They're sharing their before and afters. It's been really cool to watch this group evolve. That's the data that is often more important, is what's happening in those Facebook threads. And so we spend a couple $1,000 a month hiring employees to help us manage that. They're in there answering questions. Me and my business partners spend hours in there each week just reading through the threads and seeing what people are saying. We'll often post. I'm a big believer that all businesses are crowd created. And a day with the internet, it's, yes, we have this vision, we have things we want to do, but the consumers often dictate what that looks like. And so it's important for us to put ideas out there. I think YouTubers do a great job at this as well, or just creators in general. Put our ideas out there and see what our audience has to say about it. Is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? How can we tweak it? How can we make it better for you guys? That's the data that won't show up on a spreadsheet that I really believe allows for sustainability and longevity in a customer base.
Very cool. Very cool. You said something very interesting, which is listening to your consumers' intent. Yeah, something you can derive from data, but some things you can't. So you have to kind of do that analysis in a very different manner. And then you can get to the nerve of what exactly the consumers are looking for. I think, having that Facebook big group, 9,000 people, conversations, that's like a big treasure hunt. And it's like those conversations can give you insights that probably no marketing campaign can ever give typically. So wow, excellent advice. I think this can be very helpful to any brand who wants to learn about their consumers' intent, what their likings, dislikings are. What are some of those questions that they ask even before making that purchase? I think this is a great piece of advice that Austin just shared. Excellent. Let me go to Suzanne and ask Suzanne, for a apparel brand, like for your brand, product quality and fabric and sustainability are extremely important. So how do you kind of convey that message to your consumers, like through your email campaigns, through your advertising campaigns, and what are typically some of the things that consumers don't know about that you would like to talk more, so that, for example, a brand like Everlane or Patagonia, like in terms of sustainability, they are leaders. So what do you think that, like, definitely you are like thinking in that direction and doing in that direction, what more brands can do in order to kind of follow that bandwagon of sustainability? Because we have this only planet A, there's no planet B. But definitely everyone is trying, but it's happening at a very, like, not at that scale. So what do you think that brands can do in their own way in order to become like the leaders in their own way for sustainability? Because it's only when thousands and millions of brands do that, that's when we can say yes, the whole retail world is thinking about sustainability. Because we still see in 21st century, though we know demand supply numbers and everything, still a lot of wastage happens. So it's a major problem. What are your thoughts? I just wanted to know, like, how do you think you can become the next Patagonia? How your brand can become that?
I think it's such a timely question to ask. And fashion in particular is the second most polluting industry in the world, second only to big oil. So it's
Mm.
something that not only I need to address as an emerging business, but the ones that have been out there that are legacy brands or even luxury, level brands, everyone needs to address it. And I think COVID
Yeah.
kind of, accelerated those discussions. I mean, I was on a panel discussion interview, and I heard Tommy Hilfiger speaking about sustainability. I've never heard that from him ever. And I think everyone's trying, whether it's more of a marketing proposition or if it's really true to the brand and the values that they're starting to have to ingrain in their brands, if they're more of a legacy brand. I think everyone has to do it. And a few ways to answer your question about how some brands can do it, I think it really depends on your product, on your team. But I think collaboration is a first place to stop. Like, we actually have a luxury brand, fashion brand collaboration coming out in which we're using their fabric. And, that's one way to get leftover fabric, from another brand could be one way to do it. Just trading resources, even getting together and collaborating and just trading and being transparent. Like, I think you can't cover your paper and think it's a competitive advantage if you want the whole industry to move forward. I think, and I hope everybody is more sustainable moving forward. And I'm happy personally, for my company to be completely transparent about, factories and process. And we try to do that a lot on our website through sharing what qualities of fabric, like between certified organic cotton, between upcycled or dead stock fabric that's just sitting. So you don't have to produce the fabric from scratch, which is time consuming, also uses a lot of water and really hurts the environment. So, and even cruelty free wool, merino
Yeah.
wool, we are very diligent in picking partners who are cruelty free. We are so trying to push the envelope on that too. And I also think part of that is supporting some of these emerging fabrics. There's been amazing fabrics that we've piloted with the companies on helping launch. So there's a vegan based leather made out of pineapple leaves, and there's a vegan based leather based off of apple skin and apple cores. And those have been some of our best sellers, not only because of the design and the quality, but also the story behind it. So repurposing food waste into a more kind and environmentally kind, fabric. So I think it needs to be a conversation and an initiative we push together as an industry. And even taking inspiration from what's happening with electric cars, or like, it's across industry and it's across different categories of business. So what could you potentially do with some of those businesses in terms of collaboration and thought sharing, because again, it's critical that we move, and we move quickly, and we move as a group.
Very, very nice. I mean, that's very important. And I think ultimately in the long run, that's going to become your USP, and people are going to love that.
Yeah. And I think too, like, to answer one of the questions you asked too, like, our company, we just spend a lot of time on quality. And I know my design team wants to kill me sometimes, but I'm like, is that thread a recycled quality? They're like, oh. So I'm like, is that plastic? We don't use plastic. We like it. I think it inspires people on our team to have those, like, that diligence.
Yeah.
And we can afford to do that at the scale we are. And we have plans to continue as we scale, to keep the integrity of that kind of level of diligence, like, so that we can grow to like a Patagonia size, so, and even for them, like, they weren't always sustainable, but some things happened internally and they made that really strong commitment. And they're, I would consider, one of the OGs of the sustainable movement. Like, they put their money where their mouth is. They're like one of the most, I think, integrity filled apparel brands out there, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that their single focus on sustainability is now driving more consumers to their Patagonia. I think that's what I think. They're sticking with it, and the choice that they're making definitely is a hard one, but ultimately it's helping the brand, because I think consumers are now becoming more aware. I think more than because of the information that consumers have access to, and people want the best products which have all the sustainable practices. It's just that so far it hasn't been talked about a lot, but I think now that conversations are happening, not just at a very high level, but everywhere. And I think that ripple effect is going to have, in the next 5-10 years, maybe we'll have policies around sustainable fashion, and ultimately that those policies will eventually help not just the consumers, but the brands also. So I think your focus on sustainability is going to play a pivotal role in taking the brand to the next level. And consumers already love your product. It's just a matter of they're learning more about it, because I think consumers typically have that transactional interaction with the website. But once the consumers get to know more about the product, they would really want to know how the product that they are using, the t-shirt that they're wearing, how it has come to inception. And people would really want to know that. And once they get to know it, they talk about it with their friends, their peers, and great things can happen there. That's an inflection point that every brand thinks how we can reach there, how people talk about our products. Cool.
And Austin can speak to this too, but the product has to work.
Mm.
Like, you have to lead with good design and good quality first. Like, that's
True.
hands down, before you even like can introduce a reason why or a value proposition behind it.
Yeah.
Like, for us, we're not even leading with a sustainability story. It's just a reason to believe in the brand. But like, the product first and foremost has to look good, feel good, work, and be functional. So
Very true.
I think that has to be your lead 100%.
Absolutely. Let me go to Austin. Austin, about marketing, if we can talk a little bit about email marketing for that matter, because that's the most important area. And with the whole privacy thing and the consumer, like the issues that are there with iOS, privacy changes, how do you think marketing has to evolve, like email marketing for that matter? Because on an iPhone, like the emails that you get, that you send in your email campaign may not get tracked the way it used to get tracked earlier. So you typically don't get to understand the right data points for your open rate, for your click rate, for your conversions. Well, how do you think what needs to evolve, or what do you think can be the potential solution? Of course, the only way is Apple might come up with something, but as a brand, you want to have those data points, because if you don't have those data points, you are like doing marketing in the blind. And so that may not work. You might have to shell out more dollars for getting that ROAS that you are expecting. So how do you look at all these things that are happening in the advertising or in the email marketing space, or with this whole privacy thing around marketing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the first things I learned when I got into online marketing was the importance of an own audience and an email list, and how important it is to, capture someone's email address, nurture the relationship through email. And obviously, as tracking issues become more and more prominent and relevant to brand owners, it's something that brands have to be thinking about. I'm still a big believer that email is the core. It's always been, for me and the brands that I've worked with, it's always been the most profitable marketing channel. It's always been the easiest, most efficient marketing channel. It doesn't have to be this big design production. Oftentimes the emails that we write are just text-based, and it goes back to the kind of the storytelling that I was talking about earlier. It's, hey, it's this one-on-one conversation with our consumers, letting them know about what we're working on, what's going on in the business, what's going on in John's life, etc. And it's that relationship building that really holds it together. As tracking becomes more and more wonky, you see a lot of brands taking the multi-channel approach. If email's at the core, it's, hey, we're also over on TikTok, we're also over on Instagram. Speaking from experience of running a small team, we have 5 employees. We're not on every channel. We're not creating content for every channel. email is obviously at kind of the core of everything we do, because even with the Facebook group, Zuckerberg can limit that reach, or he can stop sending us organic leads there. So the
Yes.
focus has always been email, but once they're on our email list, we're always trying to think about, okay, where else, what other bucket can we put them in? Can we put them over on, this social channel, etc. So yeah, I think if you're a brand owner, email isn't going away. It's been around since the dawn of the internet.
Yeah.
Sure, going back to our data conversation, sure, being able to track opens and clicks and revenue is always the best way to do it. But at the end of the day, if people are getting your message, you're building that relationship with them, you're nurturing them, and really just building brand equity with them, the revenue will come even if you can't track it.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and that's a great way. Yeah, evolving, but yeah, I think email is always going to be the core area for marketeers, and of course, I mean, the ad world and the whole marketing world is evolving with, as new technologies are emerging like VR and AR and mixed reality, where consumers will be able to touch and feel, may not be able to touch, but they might be able to experience your product like never before with the computing power that we have now. So yeah,
Yeah.
times are changing, and
Yeah, and I
will
think
change.
just one more note there is the brands that stick because let's say you're not able to track emails as granular as you have been in the past. The good news is that it's not only happening to you, right? It's happening to every brand out there. And so the brands that last, I just want to reiterate, are the ones that really take the time to be smart about how they build the relationship with the consumer. At the end of the day, the brands that do that well and do it authentically and transparently are the ones that will last in the long term.
Well said. Well said. Absolutely. Yeah. That always going to remain the core, and help the brands to become, to help the brands to run that long range. I mean, for a very long time, sustainably, actually. I mean, because with the whole ad money that goes in order to drive that traffic, I think customer acquisition cost is going to rise day by day, because everyone is advertising on the same platform exactly at the same time for the exact same keyword for the exact same target audience. So the only way to beat that is to have a very, very strong loyal audience and retaining them with a very strong community driven branding, and letting them know what the brand stands for, what the product stands for. That can be a game changer.
Absolutely.
As we are coming to an end of this panel discussion, I have a last question for both of you, which is around what is that one piece of advice that you would like to give to someone, maybe within your family, within your friends, who might come to you and ask you, hey, what would you like to tell me? I want to launch a new business. What would you tell them? Because it's building a business is definitely a rocket science, for sure. It's not something that, tech is easy these days. Launching a Shopify site does not mean you have a business. It just means you have a site where people can just come in, see something, but that does not mean it's a business. It's like, it might take you 5 years to build that business. So what do you tell them? And patience is the game. Patience is the virtue that very few entrepreneurs have. So what would you tell them, and how you can encourage them, so that can really help them in taking that first step? Of course, it's not that easy, but yeah, your one piece of advice for them, Suzanne.
My one piece of advice is, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So you have to be brave, prepared to go for those, like, maybe it might be uncomfortable, or like, if you're nervous, you just have to do it. Like, right before I came up with the idea of AbleMade, I cold called in and went to his office at Vogue, and I actually got a meeting. And a lot of the brands that you've seen that I've been able to collaborate with, sometimes it's been an intro for me, a warm intro, or I knew someone through my network, but a lot of it has been me outreaching. I'm like, I really respect what you're doing. I love your brand. Do you want to do you want to work with us? And I will say that's how I built my advisory board. That's how I've built a lot of my relationships. But I've just find, just from talking to people, a lot of people don't take that chance. And you just have to work yourself up to do it. And I think the risk is greater if you don't ask versus if you do. So that's a big nugget that I use pretty much on a daily basis.
Wow, very powerful, very important, very always ask, never hesitate in asking for help. And that tells something about you, that you are strong. You have the audacity to ask questions, you have the audacity to ask for help. Very, very important piece of advice from Suzanne. Thank you. Austin, from your end.
Yeah, before I answer Suzanne, I love that answer because I really believe that entrepreneurship is one of the greatest personal development journeys someone can take in their life. It stretches you, it's uncomfortable, it's scary, but when you can get over those feelings and just throw yourself into it, it's amazing the person you come out to be. So I love that answer. Mine would be, it's probably from one of the entrepreneurs I follow most, Alex Hormozy. He always says, do the boring work. It's easy to want to be the big business, the face of something amazing, but the only way you can get there is by doing the boring work. So if you're trying to start a company, like, find a problem to solve and then go insert yourself in the conversation of where people are trying to solve that problem. Look through Reddit threads, join Facebook groups. As Suzanne mentioned earlier, pick up the phone, talk to humans and see why they're having that problem, how they've tried to solve it in the past, and why they aren't at the outcome that they want. I think at the very core of business, that's all we're doing, is we're problem solvers. The people do it well, really understand how to solve that problem in the best way possible for their audience. And if you can do that well, and continue doing it for a long time, you're going to be set up for success. It takes hard work. It takes a little bit of grit. It takes time to develop a good solution. But if you take the time to do the boring work up front, it saves you a lot of time in the long run.
Wow. That's a very, very thoughtful advice that I've heard, Adam, I must say, because it's very important, because that's where the whole battle is. It's like doing that boring work. It's like that's what defines you in the end. And yeah, that's the battle. It's like most of the time we give up. I think we feel that, it's not my cup of tea, and we just give up. And that's where those miracles can happen. And
Absolutely.
I still remember there was this movie, I forgot the name of that movie, and there was a quote in that movie where it's something like that. I'm just trying to recollect, but like, miracles do happen. I mean, only when the human spirit takes over. And I think it's all about, as you mentioned, doing that boring work. And that's what I think. Yeah, if you all follow Elon, and I think, yeah, typically we do one work and we get bored, and we keep aside, we want some pause time. And there's this guy who's running 4 or 5 companies at the same time, and not just doing the hard part, but the most every part, like every part. And
business becomes very fun when you learn to enjoy the boring work, the stuff that actually moves the needle and reaches people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow, what a great conversation on a Monday morning, I must say. And you guys have been great. You have been givers, and I think more power to you. And really enjoyed. I think this should happen quite often on a Monday, to get our creative juices flowing and get back into that game. And yeah, I think every day matters. If we keep doing the right things, great things can happen to us. And yeah, it's a long journey. We have to keep moving day by day, never settle, and keep inspiring ourselves with our own thoughts. We learn from people around us and asking questions, and learning that, yeah, you have a bigger purpose, and you can do big things. Yes, but by doing all the small things, how they can have a bigger impact for you, for your society, and how you can be the leader in your own way and contribute to the world. So really, really happy. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for joining in today and taking out time. Thank you so much, Austin, for taking out time and joining today.
Thanks for
I'll
having
be
me.
in touch. Let's chat again. Let's keep talking. Let's keep sharing. And would love to host you guys again, maybe on some other topic. I know 60 minutes is not enough, but maybe on some other topic we can have more conversation around. So with this, yeah, have a great day and a great week ahead. Talk to you guys soon. Have a
Thanks,
great
Likewise.
Kuldeep,
Nice
and
meeting you
awesome
guys.
job.
Thank
Nice
you.
job. Bye.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye. Take
Cheers.
care, guys. Thank you.